What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today I'm going to be discussing from 1994 D2 The Mighty Ducks, starring Emilio Estevez, Catherine Urbe, Michael Tucker, Jan Rubes, Joshua Jackson, Eldon Henson, Brandon Adams, Vincent LaRusso, Marguerite Moreau, Aaron Lohr, Keenan Thompson, and Mike Vitar. What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me here today on another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. I appreciate you tuning in and joining me, and this is definitely going to be a high point this month when it comes to the movies. I mean, we had the Back to the Future trilogy, and that was a good strong point. We've got this one right here. I mean, I think the only point of this month where we're going to get higher than this is when we cover next Friday on 420. And if you don't get that joke, turn this off and leave right now. But anyways, we're going to be discussing what is quite possibly one of the greatest sequels of all time. And that's a bold, bold statement in the history of filmmaking. But I seriously throw this up there with like The Empire Strikes Back. Like, this is one of the best sequels ever. Of course, I'm talking about D2, The Mighty Ducks. And our film begins with clips of Gordon Bombay. And he's playing hockey in the minor leagues now. He's become a star there. And there's actually talk of him getting called up to the NHL. However, Gordon suffers a career-ending knee injury during a game. Has to go back home to Minneapolis, Minnesota. His old friend, Jan, who is Hans's brother, picks him up from the bus station and brings him back to the hockey store. Bombay ends up waking up there the next morning, and he sees Charlie Conway right away. He's reunited with his old friend. And Charlie has been working at the store ever since his mother, Casey, got remarried, which, let's take a quick moment to talk about this. In the last movie, her and Gordon were starting to what seemed to be pursuing a relationship, and here we are a year and a half later, and she's remarried. That was some quick moving, Casey. I'm just saying. You got over Gordon really quickly, found another dude and got hitched. Just throwing that out there. So Charlie's been working at the store ever since his mother got remarried. And while Gordon is helping out around the store one day, Don Tibbles shows up. And Tibbles is an executive with Hendricks Hockey Apparel. Hendricks Hockey is the major sponsor for Team USA in the Junior Goodwill games coming up. And Team USA Hockey is without a coach. Now, Jan has been talking Gordon up to Mr. Tibbles throughout the past months or whatever we're led to believe, telling him that Gordon Bombay is the Minnesota Miracle Man. So Mr. Tibbles makes note of all this, and now that he's got a chance to meet Gordon, he talks to him, and he offers Bombay the opportunity to coach Team USA Hockey. Bombay be a fool not to accept that. You go from playing pee-wees and quitting because of a catastrophe, becoming a lawyer, successful lawyer, getting derailed and becoming a coach, getting an opportunity to play again, getting injured. Go back to what you're good at, man. You took the Ducks to glory. You can do the same thing for Team USA. Gordon goes by Charlie's house and asks Charlie if he wants to play some hockey. Charlie starts rounding up the Ducks. goes on a quest around the city, and he starts reuniting with his friends and teammates. Jesse Hall, Les Averman, Guy Germain, Connie Moreau, Greg Goldberg, and even Fulton Reed. And they all skate back to where Bombay is waiting for the team. And Bombay is reunited for the first time with his former Ducks. Now, in order to be Team USA and just not the Ducks, Tibbles has gone out and he's scouted some kids from other parts of the USA in order to make it a more eclectic team. He brings in Luis Mendoza, Dwayne Robertson, Kenny Wu, Dean Portman, and Julie the Cat Gaffney. And initially, there's friction between the 5 new players and the Ducks. But with Bombay's communication and coaching methods and Miss McKay's tutelage, Miss McKay is hired to be the team tutor because they still have school that they're responsible for. They soon learn how to work together as a cohesive unit. After a few days, the team heads out to California, where the Junior Goodwill Games is going to be taking place. And Team USA earns easy victories over Trinidad Tobago and Italy in their first couple of games. Fulton and Portman end up becoming a defensive unit on the ice. They get nicknamed the Bash Brothers, thanks largely in part to their enforcer skills, and everything seems to be going well. However, there's that word again. However, Julie feels stifled. She left her team at home in Bangor, Maine, to show the world what she could do. And she hasn't played. She's sitting there riding the bench. But Bombay tells her, you've got to be patient. I've got to stay with Goldberg while he's hot. You will get the opportunity to show the world what you can do. I promise you that. During a party in LA, Bombay begins to get distracted a little bit by the celebrity lifestyle. He meets Olympians Greg Louganis and Christy Yamaguchi, NHL players Cam Neely, Chris Chelios, and Luc Robitaille, and NBA legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And when Team USA gets defeated by Iceland, Bombay snaps. And he begins to really, really push his players, forcing them to practice well into the nighttime. Bombay becomes oblivious to the suffering of his players. The kids are exhausted. They can't even stay awake during Miss McKay's teachings. So Miss McKay intervenes, cancels practice one day, which upsets Coach Bombay. She calls him out point blank on his thoughtlessness, putting his ego ahead of the kids and their well-being. After a day or two of rest, Russ Tyler, who's a young man who's been attending basically every Team USA game and tends to kind of be a little wise ass in the crowd, heckling and making smart ass comments. He shows up during the Team USA exercise and challenges them to a game of schoolyard puck. Russ's brother, and their friends take on Team USA and teaches them a thing or two, including Russ breaking out his patented knuckle puck, which Fulton is totally impressed by. You got to remember, Fulton is the slap shot extraordinaire. So to see somebody else with this impressive shot, Fulton's like, okay, I see you. Charlie even takes notice of Russ's ability, kind of puts it in the back of his head there. Bombay continues trying to balance the pressure of being a famous coach and his lifestyle until Jan shows up, closing the hockey store for the first time in 10 years. out there in LA to help his friend, remind him what's important. Jan reminds Gordon about his love for the game, which is what made him such a great coach in the first place. The love and the dedication and the passion that he had for the sport. Gordon laces up his rollerblades, and he spends the evening skating beachside, reflecting on his passion and his love of the sport. Team USA is set to play Germany, but Bombay is nowhere to be found. Miss McKay shows up to watch the team play, and Team USA needs to come up with the coach or else they forfeit. So Charlie wrangles Miss McKay into posing as the coach so they don't forfeit. If they forfeit the game, they're out of the tournament. Bombay shows up late in the game, thanks Miss McKay for stepping in, apologizes to her, calls the team in, apologizes to them, lets them know that the old Gordon is back. It's going to be fun again. You just need to believe in me and trust me. Inspired by Bombay's change in attitude, the team goes behind the net, breaks out the flying V, scores, and moves on to the next round. At this point, practices become a little bit more fun again. Traditional duck practices. And they also begin studying videotape a little bit more, learning their opponent's strengths and weaknesses. That way they can play defensive better out there on the ice. And Bombay finally notices Adam's injury. He had taken a slash to the wrist during the game against Iceland, and because Bombay had been so up in his own ego, he didn't notice that Adam was struggling. So he benches Adam because he doesn't want to be liable for Adam risking any further injury to himself. And Adam tries to get coach to relent, but Bombay insists. Charlie finds out about the open roster spot, and he goes to Coach Bombay. Points out, remember how I always used to tell you I'd make a better coach than a player? Meet Russ Tyler. Russ ends up joining the team, taking Adam's roster slot. Team USA defeats Russia in the next game, thanks to Russ's knuckle puck, and it advances them to the final game against Iceland. Iceland had actually lost to Russia previously, so the winner of this final game between Iceland and Team USA will be the winner of the Junior Goodwill Games. As they celebrate in their locker room the fact that they're moving on to the finals, the great one, Wayne Gretzky, comes in to join them and celebrate with them. And during their final practice, the Iceland team shows up and crashes the fun. Bombay exchanges words with the Iceland coach, Wolf the Dentist Stanson, partially thanks to the support of his team. The Ducks are standing there behind him saying, "Go ahead, coach, we got you." So Bombay goes out there, trades insults. They end up challenging each other to a game of 3-bar. In the game of 3-bar, you've got to hit both goalposts and the crossbar in order to win the game. Bombay has the lead, but Stanson cheap shots Gordon in his injured knee. Sends Gordon right to the ice in pain. The team's upset at the cheap shot, but Gordon tells them that they'll get them back in the finals. Game day, Adam returns. His injury is all healed. He can move his wrist again fully. Russ is about to take off his jersey and give Banks his spot back, but Charlie tells Russ to sit down. I got this. Charlie takes off his jersey and allows Banks his roster spot. And Gordon tells him that I'm going to have you right there on the bench coaching with me the whole time. You're basically proving your merits with what you're doing right now, thinking about the team over yourself. Game against Iceland isn't much different from its predecessor. Iceland dominates the USA team. Team USA takes stupid penalties. Kenny Wu is able to actually score one goal for Team USA and then start something with the Iceland team. Ends up pulling his jersey over and taking a couple shots much the same way that Russ's brother taught him to when they were playing the schoolyard puck. The Bash brothers take on the Iceland bench. Dwayne ropes a guy who's about to attack Connie. Gets put in the penalty box, 2 minutes for roping. Bombay becomes annoyed by the team's shenanigans. And during the second intermission, Bombay gives a speech to the team. Did you enjoy that? Did you have fun with that? Because they enjoyed it too. They're still in the lead. Bombay begins to rally the team and ask everybody where they're from. And one by one, they go around the team. I'm Gordon Bombay from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm Dean Portman from Chicago, Illinois. I'm Julie Gaffney from Bangor, Maine, etc., etc. And the whole speech ends with Bombay saying his own name and information. Jan then comes in, and he takes the floor. And he talks about how new Ducks and old Ducks must now unite under a new banner. Perhaps something like this. And ducks fly together. It's the whole ducks fly together speech is probably one of the most endearing moments of the whole film. It truly is. The team returns to the ice, rejuvenated, wearing the new uniforms instead of the old Team USA ones. And the Ducks managed to get back into the game with goals from Connie, Adam, Luis, and Russ. The game is tied as it draws to an end, and it goes to a shootout to decide the winners of the Junior Goodwill Games. Each player ends up taking their shot. Some make it, some miss it. And it's the Ducks up in the shootout 4-3. And Iceland star player Gunnar Stahl is about to take the ice. Now, in all the scouting that Gordon has done, Gordon knows Gunnar's shot. Triple deke, glove side. So he calls in Goldberg and he sends out Julie. And he tells Julie in advance, look, this is this guy's shot. Anticipate it. You've got the game. She takes her spot between the pipes, gets set up. Gunnar charges at her. Triple deke. Fires it off, glove side. Julie catches the puck. Tosses it down in front of her. The Ducks win the Junior Goodwill Games. The Ducks get on the ice. They begin to celebrate their victory. And Stanson, he can't hold it in any longer. He goes out there. He shakes Bombay's hand in sportsmanship. Gunnar Stahl goes up to Charlie, and he gives him praise. Good work, Captain Duck. The first time that Charlie is acknowledged as the captain of the team. The Junior Goodwill officials hand Adam the American flag. He takes it, he gives it straight to Charlie. Charlie runs around the ice waving the American flag proudly as his team skates behind him. And our film concludes with the team sitting around the campfire, Dwayne playing the guitar, and all of them singing "We Are the Champions" by Queen. In what is honestly my favorite rendition of that song, even more so than the Queen version. And that's not a knock at Freddie Mercury and the boys, because I love "We Are the Champions." But that scene of those kids around the campfire singing it, that is my favorite rendition of the song. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. The Ducks is just a great franchise to get into and cover. It's definitely one of those that's near and dear to my heart, as are a lot of the trilogies that I'm doing this month, if I'm being perfectly honest. You know, this franchise, Back to the Future, Bill and Ted, you know, how ironic that we're bookending the month with two trilogies about time travel. Didn't even think about that when I was booking it, to be honest, but it dawned on me later. I was like, interesting. All right. And Back to the Future did come first, 85, 88. So, you know. But that's that stuff. We're talking about the Mighty Ducks. And here to help discuss D2 the Mighty Ducks with me is a man you should not be surprised to see here on my channel. He's been on my channel this month almost about as much as he's been on his own channel. You know, today over on his channel is day 2 of WrestleMania coverage, and yet he still manages to have the time to have his butt in this seat alongside of me over here to talk about D2 the Mighty Ducks. The man, the myth, the legend, the West Coast professor, my bash brother, Jeff Meacham. Jeff, wake up. Cameras are rolling.
WrestleMania. All right, WrestleMania. Whoa, WrestleMania. Oh, wait. I'm on J-Show. Hi. Okay, so
take a look at the kids surrounding you there, sir. We're not talking about Orton, The Fiend, D-Bry, Roman Reigns, and Edge. No. We're talking about Fulton Reed. We're talking about Dean Portman, Luis Mendoza, Dwayne Robertson, Charlie Conway. Ducks fly together.
Stand strong. Fly straight. I can't even say the damn word right because I'm so tired from WrestleMania yesterday. It's your fault, McMahon. Stay strong. What is it? Stay strong, fly straight, USA all the way?
Yes.
Okay, so I had it right. I can't get it verbalized properly because my mouth is drier than a freaking Sahara Desert right now because I talked for 35 hours yesterday.
It's all good. Well, while you take a swig of your tasty beverage there, let me go ahead and thank you once again for joining me here.
Thank you.
For what is, in my opinion, the best installment in the franchise. You know, we discussed a little bit yesterday about how you used to co-sign with me, but now you feel that the original Ducks movie is just as good, if not maybe a little superior to this one. Let's get into it, man.
Well, you know, it's I've had the benefit of watching this before we taped, just like I did yesterday's show, And this one, it kind of clawed the other one out of its way again, like it always seems to do when I watch movies together, because this movie is just so. And people are going to say, well, it's the same kind of plot. The Ducks are hapless when they get back together. Bombay's arrogant and off in his own little world for a good chunk of the movie. And yeah, but the difference is, what you're dealing with going in. And even though Disney ending is going to be better, there's a lot of things they tie into this movie that they didn't necessarily touch on the last time.
Yeah.
The dynamic of having new kids come into your fold, it's one of those things where when you're on a team like the Ducks were, and they really were part of a family, and for whatever reason the other kids couldn't make the team. Peter because he was too short and got his tongue ripped out, Cart because he was a follower, not a leader, Terry because he lived on the other side of the house using the project opposed to Jesse. Kind of stuff like that happened over the course of the year. You've got these kids coming in, they're ringers, and that it's very foreshadowing of Game Changers, because they're bringing in these kids that are super duper stars and live, breathe, sweat, cry hockey before anything else.
With the exception maybe of Ken Wu, who had been a figure skater prior, and they put a hockey stick in his hand and he's been untouchable, as Tibbles says.
Yeah, I pretty much liken Ken to the Duncan siblings in the first movie. Tommy was the hockey player, but he was the short little ankle biter like Peter was, except he had less of an attitude. Tammy was the figure skater, but you put her on the ice with a stick and she was doing great things in the first movie. So that's very much what Ken is in this. And I feel Ken's character appeals more to the audience on Muff, which is why he was retained in D3 and the Duncans weren't carried over into this one. Just my 2 cents on those two. And again, I said yesterday, I love Danny help me out here.
Tamborelli.
I love him. I loved him on Pete and Pete. I loved him on anything he's done Nickelodeon wise, and he was good in the first movie. But as we talked about, there were a lot of characters in that movie that, much like the NWO did a few years later, trim the fat off the top when they get back together. They didn't need the Duncans. They sure as hell didn't need Carper Peter.
Right. Well, the second movie really added, with being Team USA and gaining people from other walks of life in the world, it added a lot of very much needed diversity to the kids.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, aside from the Halls in the first movie, every one of them is white.
Yeah, very much so.
Goldberg got a little tint of ethnicity to him, because he's supposed to be Greek or whatever.
Right.
But every kid other than the Halls is white.
Yeah.
We expand to this movie, then you got Luis Mendoza, who's Hispanic. You've got Kenny Wu, who's Asian. We lose Terry, but we get Russ, who's African American.
Right.
Even Dwayne, granted he's a white boy, but he's from the South. He's Texas. He's a redneck. Get that little bit of diversity towards it instead of them all being, for lack of a better term, even though the Ducks were definitely from the wrong side of the tracks, snobby white kids.
Minnesota white bread.
Yeah, there you go. So this movie definitely opened up the diversity doors, and I think that's part of why this core team was retained for part 3.
Right, because most of them came back again. So
minus Jesse.
That's true. Yeah.
Jesse's the only one that didn't even have a blip in D3.
Right, which I never did find out why that happened, and I'm sure we'll try to get into it tomorrow. If not, we can talk off air about it. But yeah, this, like I said, the first one after watching all 3 of them had really, spread back into my consciousness, and it was really taken over. But this one, there's so many layers on this, and there's so many cameos for me as a movie person and as a sports fan that my freaking Spidey sense tingling. Both Luke and Wayne are in this movie. I mean, let's just right at the top there. Both Gretzky and Robitaille are in this movie. Got me. You sold my ass.
And Bob Miller is the commentator for the Team USA Iceland game.
And Bob Miller's actually in this, not random no name up there voice only.
You've got 3 very prominent Keynes figures
Oh yes,
in the Ducks films.
which again is so funny. And every time I show them this movie, and Ducks fans go, "We're better than you," it's like, motherfucker, look, we guided you into existence. Shut up.
I always have wanted to get an 8x10 of the Neely Chilios Robitaille scene
Right?
and get Luke to sign it
Hell
one
yeah.
day when we bump into him at a game. Be like,
You know,
dude,
he'd get a kick out of it too. He's like,
yeah,
oh,
he would. First of all, he'd sit there just drooling over the hair he used to have.
right. God. Dude, Robitaille held on to the 80s mullet way too far in the 90s. Way too far. I love you, Luke. You know I do, brother. But my goodness. And how does Stacia put up with that look? I mean, yeah, granted, she's very good looking herself, but it's like, man, Luke, haircut, dude, it's 2001. Christ's sakes. But yeah, I loved it. I love that. I love Christy Yamaguchi, and I forget her male counterparts. So forgive me.
Greg Louganis.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it was Greg or not, because Greg Louganis, and then Kareem, of course, which leads into the Air Bombay conversation, which is so funny.
Yeah, it would have been funnier if it had been Jordan, since he had the Air Jordans.
Right.
But Kareem, being, I think he had already retired from the Lakers at that point. I know he did play into the 90s, but I think by 94, Kareem was done.
Yeah, I think he was the last remnants of Showtime to finally retire. Magic, of course, had to. He felt back at the time he had to because of the circumstances. Kareem, I think, held on because Magic couldn't. I think. Again, full disclosure, not a Lakers fan, not a basketball person, but
I'm not going to get into that conversation because I don't want to speak where I'm not knowledgeable.
Well, no.
I think Kareem actually retired before Magic, but I'm not 100% positive on that. If any of our viewers are tried and true Laker fans, let us know over there next to Jeff if you're watching it during the live stream, or underneath if you're watching it on demand.
And if you're watching
what the time frame was there.
If you're watching this in the live stream and taking a break from your WrestleMania shenanigans, we love you for that. Thank you so much for being here today, because, man, we know you're getting bombarded with images on your Peacock app and just your brain short-circuiting. So we appreciate you taking the hour to be here with us. Really, really appreciate that.
Definitely. Like you said, D2 is very much a retread of the first Ducks movie. You laid it all out there. The Ducks start off as misfits because they haven't been practicing in the off season.
Right.
So when they get on the ice with the Rainers, they're getting showed up at every turn.
Yes.
Especially when you factor in Julie's cat-like reflexes in the net, which earned her nickname.
Yeah.
And Dwayne's puck handling abilities. They just look like, Tweedledee and Tweedledums out there on the ice compared to those two. But and then Bombay's arrogance, as you touched on, his redemption. But I think what makes this movie better, 2 things, in my opinion, that make this movie better for me. The stakes are higher. In D1, it's very personal. It's about Bombay getting his revenge against Riley for the way that Riley treated him for missing that shot.
Right.
At the end of the day, yes, the Ducks are there too, and they have a little bit of redemption, but it's about Bombay getting that revenge and closing that chapter of his book.
Agreed.
It's personal. This is global. This is international.
Right.
This is as close as the Ducks team can come to playing for a Stanley Cup championship without being a pro team.
Right.
So the stakes are bigger and the kids are more endearing. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, and how Peter and Carp were just, those two alone, such royal pains in the ass.
Ugh.
that when they didn't make the cut to come back, you were like,
Right.
don't really care.
Yeah, I
The
don't.
only one that was truly missed, I feel, was Terry, being the fact that he was Jesse's brother.
Right.
Again, we discussed this a little bit yesterday too, but the fact that they brought in Keenan, I feel kind of, and you feel kind of evens that out.
Right.
It still would have been a good service, as I threw out there yesterday, to at least have him cameo there when Charlie recruits Jesse in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate to find a way to integrate Terry back into the story, but this is going to sound really wrong, but they were looking to get Keenan elevated because they had him under a contract, I think, with something with Disney, so they wanted him to have a showcase, and with Terry not being there, Jesse didn't have his brother to back him up when he went to go whoop Russ's ass. So Jesse had to rely on the white boys, for lack of their term, to go back him up when he went over to the street hockey thing. So having Russ be that element of different to Jesse was definitely a key component of Jesse's character. Had they retained Jesse for part 3, I would have liked to have seen them more as teammates in the classroom and dealing with the Eden Hall snobby bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
So, because we saw Russ was like, I'm not causing trouble. I'm not gonna get out of here. Jesse would be like, oh, come on, please. He would have got the answer his damn self. Jesse would have. I'll tell you that right now.
True that.
God bless Brandon for having to not get recruited for part 3. But as we say, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Brandon's star was just taking off a little bit too much, more so than Charlie's had at that point.
Oh, for sure.
To where, Josh Jackson, Charlie Conway.
Right.
But that may be part of why Brandon didn't come back.
Very, very, very possibly so. Like we talked about, yesterday, or maybe it was we talked about tomorrow. Dawson's Creek is still 2 years out from.
Yeah.
So Josh hadn't quite hit that money yet. He was on the rise for sure.
Yeah. He was on the cusp.
Yes. Yeah, quarter inch this way, he's a star. Quarter the other way, he misses completely.
And if you don't understand that reference, we'll see you guys in 2 days.
Turn on yesterday's show, then you can tell us. Very good. So, and honestly, that was good that none of the kids had really had that big money, like, I don't need this crap movie on my resume anymore. I've got bigger, better things. Now, if they did a D4, they'd have lost like half the cast because Keenan hit it big on Nickelodeon. Josh hit it big, of course, and a lot of the kids were doing their own thing by the end of 96, early 97. So,
yeah.
But this one here, everybody's still humble, both as a team and as a cast.
Very much so. Very much so.
If you think about it, other than Emilio, there's not really a whole lot of people in either of the first 2 movies that can go, yeah, I did this before this. There's some disparity. I'm not gonna be an arrogant prick and say, the Ducks made these people, because not necessarily the truth. But other than Emilio, there was no big star, especially in the second one. The first one, you had Lane playing Jack Riley, and Lane had already been a big star going in, and he would hit again pay dirt after the first Ducks movie, thanks to a certain bright yellow and red S shield. But that for me, that's what made it good, was like there was such humility that it resonated on screen, very much so.
I just had to look this up while you were talking, so for those of you that saw me distracted, forgive me. The closest we probably had to another star in D2 at the time of its filming was Mike Vitar, who had just come off the heels of being Benny the Jet Rodriguez in The Sandlot.
Yeah, I can remember where Sandlot fell in his history. Yeah,
I couldn't either. That's why I looked it up. I couldn't remember if it was after D2, prior to D3, or if it was before D2, because that was where him and Brandon Adams had worked first together,
Right.
because Brandon Adams plays De Nunez, the
Yes.
pitcher for the Sandlot team.
Yeah. And for a minute, there was no hotter movie in Hollywood than Sandlot, man. All us
Oh no.
all us kids playing Little League or like baseball, man. I think I saw that movie 3 times in theaters just to irritate my dad. And he loved baseball too. But he's like, God damn, kid, I'm done seeing this.
See, and I think I saw Ducks probably at least 2 times in theaters.
Ducks definitely.
Especially this one, D2.
Yeah.
I saw this a couple times. Like D2 resonated with me and my friends so much that we started our own street hockey team.
Oh wow. There you see, that was the whole point. That was the whole point.
The first movie got me into hockey.
Right.
This one, and maybe that's part of why I hold it so near and dear to my heart and so high.
Right.
Me and my friends that used to live in the Casa D apartment complex there started our own street hockey team. There was like 5 or 6 of us that were Ducks fans because of this movie.
Right.
And we all joined. We called ourselves the California Thunderbolts.
Nice. I love that.
Right? Good sounding team name.
Right.
Like it's got that punch to it.
Yep. Very cool. Yeah, I know for a fact that the Kings helping to get the Ducks going and the Ducks producers, as the saga wore on, were definitely looking to get, primarily here in California, because California was still very much a baby hockey state, trying to generate interest. You didn't see street hockey in LA before 1988. It wasn't a thing because there was no pond, so you couldn't play on water. In California back in 88, 95% of the year was hot. You don't out there, playing on the asphalt and set your shoes on fire. So it wasn't even thought of until Wayne Gretzky came here and the shit hit the fan. And with the advent of these movies, particularly I'd say the first 2, this one in particular really made street hockey like, oh, this is a thing. And sure enough, I mean, you figure this way. You didn't see any street hockey in the first one, I don't believe. I could be wrong there. In this movie, you see like a few different instances, because when Charlie's recruiting the kids, either they're out there playing hockey or they're making out on a bridge and getting this close, or they're working in their parents' restaurant or a movie theater. So, and then later on, when Gordon gets his groove back, they're playing street hockey. The kids are. So it all ties into street hockey, which I love.
Very much so. Very much so. So, when, like you said, when they get Jesse, he's playing street hockey.
Yep.
When they get Banks, he's playing in his driveway with a freaking cardboard goalie in front of his net. Then there's the big schoolyard puck scene set to tag teams. Whoop, there it is.
Right. I cannot believe that song is a thing again. Like, oh my God, that's such a brief sidebar.
That song is one of the 90s forgotten classics. Like,
I know.
There's people that remember it.
Yeah.
But it's not one of those songs that gets talked about all that much. It's very much a guilty pleasure song.
Very much so. But now that's part of that damn commercial, every time it comes on, the old man in the next room, Scoop, there it is. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm freaking 13 again, going with my teenage embarrassment of my father.
There was a version of it. I don't know if you remember me playing it for you or not. That song was so big back in the 90s that there was a Disney version of it called Whoop, There It Went, with Donald, Mickey, Minnie, all on the track with tag team rapping. It was on the CD called Mickey Unwrapped.
Oh, jeez. No.
If you've never heard it, I will send it to you in PM after we film today. But it's just one of those things. Disney got a hold of it because they had the rights for the movie.
Right.
They tapped them to do a special version, much like they had the Baha Men do Who Woke Snow White Up.
Yeah.
Much like they had Lou Bega do Disney's Mambo Number 5. They got a hold of that, hit song, and they just milked it for everything they could, baby.
I'll tell you what. One thing I remember from that song, besides the actual song and Ducks, whoop, Adam's Family. There it is. It's on the credits of the second one.
I remember.
I know you remember, but out there in TV land, go pop in your DVD of Adam's Family Values. It is a thing. Anyway, back on track.
We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
Merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag StatBoyApproved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Over these last couple of movies, we talked about it yesterday. Which character do you feel like you identified with the most in D2?
Oh, man. Well, now that I actually have the wardrobe to back up the story, yesterday I said Banks because he was an outsider having to come in and basically, he had to do well to thrive and survive. This one here is Charlie for me. Charlie really established as he's the captain. He's the team leader. He's the guy that's going to take the guys and the girls on his back and march down the ice and do great things, both internally and externally on the ice. He became the leader, which is why when I ordered these jerseys specifically for this purpose of doing these movies with you, I ordered Charlie's. There's only 196. That's weird. Oh well. I'll have to fix that later. I picked Charlie's jersey because this is where he becomes the captain. And being such a patriotic yutz as I am when it comes to USA sports, I've wanted this jersey for so long. And there's no Hendrix on it, which is fine by me. Charlie's definitely my guy in this movie, and I'd probably even say the same thing tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. I have to think about it, watch the movie again. But
I think that's why there's only 196 is because Hendrix is supposed to be down the other sleeve.
Oh, that's right. Okay, well then I'm technically screen accurate. So there you go. It's all good. I may even throw Hendrix up there just to make it totally accurate. We'll see how I feel when I take it in to get it done. The best part is this head hole fits. D1 or D5, not so much. Wow. I'm telling you, it's the hockey god's pants. Oh, you want to buy a Ducks jersey there, huh, Kings fan? All right. You suffer. But yeah, for this movie, it's definitely Charlie is my guy. He finds himself as a leader. And I've said so many times over the years when I was playing sports, yes, I played sports as a kid. No, I don't look like it. I know. I was very much more a team leader and a coach than I ever was a decent player. Matter of fact, my last year of baseball, I was a decent outfielder. It wasn't, the good superstar of the team, but when my division formed the all-star team and my dad was the assistant coach or the coach and my friend's dad was the manager, they both picked me to be an assistant coach because they saw how much I loved the game, how much I knew about the game. By the grace, one of our guys went down, so I became a player/coach, a la Mark Hardy. If you know who Mark Hardy is, that's okay. We're not gonna kick you out this time. Just do your research for next show. Thank you.
He's not related to Matter Jeff, though. Just throwing that out there.
No, and he's much more of a journeyman than Matter Jeff ever were in their careers, by far. But yeah, I became a player/coach, and that I never forgot that, and I've always taken my ability to be a coach, a motivator, an advocate much more seriously than I did as an athlete or a player. So Charlie for me is the guy.
Okay. It would be very easy for me to say Fulton again in this one. in all honesty, though, I think I relate more to Russ in this one.
Oh, okay.
You know, more so the guy in the fans that talks shit until he's forced to back his shit up.
Right.
You know, it's not that I can't shoot a shot. It's not that I can't play. I just prefer to be the spectator. I prefer to be the wisecracker, the jester.
Right.
You know, I mentioned my street hockey team, man. Every single one of us tried doing that goddamn knuckle puck. Every single one of us would tee up and do that shot
That's
because it was so cool.
yes, very much so.
It
Awesome.
was aesthetically pleasing to the eye.
Yes.
There's no way anybody could make that shot in hell in the NHL.
No.
But I swear to God, Jeff, if I saw Anjay Kopitar set that shit up, I would be marking out so bad in my seat.
Mega pop.
Like
Or would I?
the roof would explode on Staples Center. And especially if he did it in a game against the Ducks.
That'd be great. That'd be the best part. That'd be so awesome. I'd love that.
But oh my God, like that shot is so insane.
Yeah, it's really, it's almost like, okay, we get that that is something flashy for the movie, but it really unfortunately turned into something where the kids were trying it all over the country, especially here in LA, and people were getting hurt. So it's like, because it's a very dangerous, very unpractical shot.
Yeah.
So
you know, it's far less precise than even Fulton's. Fulton's 1 in 5. He tells you that in the first movie.
right.
You know, do you ever hit the net? Well, 1 in 5.
Yeah.
What does Russ tell you? It's hard to be accurate, but it drives goalies crazy.
That's it.
You know, so yeah, like you can make it, but what are the odds that you could legitimately fire that shot off and make it score?
What I found is Russ not only making the knuckle puck shot in D3, but using he's in full goalie pads. Like, yeah, he has his own stick, but he's having to carry around the extra. How much of them goalie pads weigh? You guys
Seriously.
It's like, dude, if I can't wind up and get that knuckle puck off as it is, just regularly, I'm dragging 20 pounds of goalie pads behind my ass. No way. It ain't going to happen. So
No way, Jose.
That's where the movie magic really comes in and goes, okay. Well, so anyway.
And then the soundtrack for this film, I feel,
Yes.
exceeds the original film.
Yep. Well,
you know, it kind of slides off a little bit in the third one. You know, the soundtrack isn't as great.
No.
But the soundtrack for D2, I owned that soundtrack for years.
Nice.
You know, for years. You know, you got We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions by Queen. You got Wild Thing by the Trogs, the original version. You've got Mr. Big Stuff. You've got You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet. Granted, covers of both of those songs, not the original artists, but still, damn good songs.
Right.
You've got Whoomp, There It Is. That's half the disc right there.
Right.
Then you've got the Mighty Duck Suite,
Which is
that
always
gorgeous piece of music that they use
yes
over and over again.
Yeah.
You've got that cheesy Zamboni song. Okay. You got that cheesy Rock the Pond song, which became, you know, an anthem for the legitimate Ducks for a few years after their inception because of the tie-in to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got Rock and Roll Part 2 by Gary Glitter.
Well, there you go. Another good one. So
7 out of 10 ain't bad, like for real.
not at all.
The only like long-lasting, endearing song I can think of from the original film, not counting the Queen ones, of course, because those appear in like all 3 films, is Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know if I said it on the air yesterday, so forgive me if I didn't. They replaced Queen on the track on the first one.
I know.
They've taken out We Will Rock You during We're the Champions during the big scene with Gordon, Hans, and the thing at the end. And but for whatever reason, they retained it in D2. Same with We Will Rock You. It's part of the hockey scene, the actual game scene. It's like, why is the licensing a thing there? And we talk about this ad nauseum, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But I just found it very weird. I still find it weird to this day. I have to find the DVD somewhere because they're here, and I'm sick of watching it and not having the moments be real for me because they're not once they take the music out. Music is so important to movies and TV. People don't realize how important the soundtrack is. Great example. A friend of John Carpenter's watched Halloween, no soundtrack. This isn't scary. It's not scary. Add that piano music, dun, 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 and all the other shit. Pee your pants. Music's everything in movies and television. I will stand by that.
Very much so. And as a little side note, you forewarned me about the Disney Plus.
I did.
So I made sure not to watch it on Disney Plus. I broke out my Mighty Ducks Blu-ray.
Good job.
It's not on the Blu-ray either.
What?
It's only on the DVD.
Because the Blu-rays came out later. Son of a bitch.
And I think I was doing a little bit of research on it.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to is the fact that the original Mighty Ducks movie was called Champions in some parts of the world.
Yeah.
So the use of We Are the Champions for a movie called Champions really kind of ran its thread and its course.
That makes sense.
When it got changed to The Mighty Ducks, it got switched to The Mighty Ducks Suite.
That makes sense.
So if you own the VHS or the DVD, you still have We Are the Champions.
Right.
If you have the Blu-ray or watch it on Disney Plus, it's the Mighty Ducks Suite.
Right. Which, again...
Granted, I have both.
Right.
Because I got the Blu-rays through the Disney Movie Club. They're a Disney Movie Club exclusive. Right. If any of you want to go get those movies on Blu-ray, you know where to find them now.
Right.
But thankfully, I still have my DVD. Yeah. And now I know that if I really want the full experience, that one I've just got to watch my DVD, man. I usually try to watch Blu-rays because the better quality, better sound and everything.
Yep.
But certain things, man, you've just got to suck it up and take that little knock in it.
I mean, that, and again, it doesn't hurt the scene as far as the integrity of the scene itself between Hans and Gordon. But as a 9-year-old kid compared to a 38-year-old man, it's everything, man, because like the swell of the chorus when, fuck, dude. When Hans...
There's my one.
Sorry. When Hans turned, Gordon, I'm proud of you, Gordon. It's just like, God, oh man, son of a bitch. It's so much more beautiful, my opinion, with the swell of We Are the Champions music than the Suite. And again, I'm not shitting on the Ducks Suite. Great music. Yeah. But Queen's music is just so timeless. And it always has been. So anyway.
Completely agree. Let's try to reel you in a little bit, sir.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Yeah.
Halves, not quarters or 3/4.
Right.
What do you rate D2 The Mighty Ducks?
Well, like I said yesterday, and I'll probably say the same thing about D3 tomorrow, knowing the way I feel about D3 now anyway. Based on the grade I gave the first one and the likely grade tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 5. And only because I can't do 4 3/4 because that's not how you rate, and it's your show. So, this is the closest thing to the perfect movie in the series. There are a couple, little flub ups or whatever, but for me, if you rank D1 and D3 as 4.5 out of 5 with no halves and with no quarters, then you have to rank this one as a 5 just by default. It's that good.
I'm also giving it 5 out of 5 stars. That shouldn't surprise you after seeing that I ranked the original Ducks at 4.5 yesterday and knowing that I feel this is the superior film.
Right.
But I mean, everything that we've touched upon here throughout our almost hour-long discussion, I've given you all my reasons already. Yes, a lot of it is retread from the original, but it's not the first time a film has done that. You think about it, The Road Warrior was pretty much a retread of Mad Max.
Oh yeah.
Desperado was pretty much a retread of El Mariachi. It's been done before, and the sequels, the second one that is the retread, ends up being the superior film.
Yeah, very much
The
so.
Road Warrior is leaps and bounds better than the original Mad Max.
Right.
Desperado is better than El Mariachi. D2 The Mighty Ducks is better than The Mighty Ducks. It's just the way it is, baby. And if you disagree with me, if you disagree with this man, then you can tell us right there next to him in the comments if you're watching on the live stream, or right down here. Down where? Down here. If you're watching it on demand.
And if you don't get that being on either one of our channels, you sure as shit don't belong. Goodbye.
Now that we've driven away all 5 of my viewers for this episode.
For the 5 of you that left, sorry.
Don't forget to get out there on the social media platforms. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios. Hashtag Renegades Reviews. Hashtag Renegade Returns. Hashtag Jeff Meacham Network. And of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. And as we all know, there are many a shenanigan when the two of us get together. Fulton Reed, Dean Portman over here, the two Bash brothers.
If I'm I got some exercise in
it. We talked about for a second about Luis Mendoza and his popularity. Let's not gloss over Aaron Lohr's career at the time of this film either.
No.
He had been in Newsies for Disney, which is kind of a cult film, but it was still a pretty big success at the time of its release.
Yeah. It got credit.
He did these. He did.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
He did these. He was the singing voice for Max Goof in a Goofy movie,
which I found out yesterday on social media. I was like, what? Like, I saw that post. I went, are you kidding me? No idea.
He went on a few years later to do a VH1 made-for-TV movie that I've seen, but very few people that I know have heard of, called Daydream Believer, The Monkees Story.
Yep.
Where he portrayed Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees.
Yeah, great underrated film.
And now he's married to Idina Menzel.
Yeah.
Let's breathe that one in for a minute. Dean Portman married Queen Elsa.
Disney incest is real. Yeah, it's all Disney family, kids. All of it. It's all it's beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, but you know what? It's funny. Like, when you really think about it, they're both Disney royalty in their own way, but I guarantee they didn't meet at some random Disney thing. Like, it had to be something.
Oh, no.
They
performed in Rent the Movie together. I don't know if Aaron was part of the Broadway cast as well, but Aaron is in Rent the Movie with Idina Menzel. He has a very bit part. I want to say his character's name is Steve. I've only seen it once, so forgive me if I'm off on the name. But he is in Rent the Movie with Idina. And judging by that jaw-dropped look on your face, you're realizing I am right, and you've never noticed it before.
Okay, get Rent out. Watch that now. Same.
It's funny because the first and to date only time I saw Rent, the minute he popped up on screen, I was like, dude, that's Dean Portman.
Did we watch it together for the first time at the place with
No,
you?
no. I watched it here with my roommates.
You still hadn't seen it till then? Wow. With her and I living there, you still hadn't seen it till now? God dang. That's crazy.
Because you know me, I'm not super huge on musicals.
I know you're not. There's so many good people in that movie.
I know.
So, you know.
I now have my own copy of it too. So, you know, it is what it is. But
now, maybe I can twist his arm into a month of musicals just to drive him crazy. We can do that one and then some other ones.
I'm definitely contemplating it. Somewhere down the road, as Barry Manilow once said.
Would love it. Would love that. Just to see you totally go out of your comfort zone and just okay, I'm gonna watch these. Okay. Because you know what? I know your critique will be fair because you are a completely newbie / outsider coming in. So that's awesome. I love that.
I think that's a good place to cut it today for D2 The Mighty Ducks. Make sure you're back here tomorrow on the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews when Jeff and I round out the Mighty Ducks trilogy with D3 The Mighty Ducks.
Right. And
Jeff,
if you're watching live, first of all, don't forget, not too long from now, Final day of WrestleMania. If we're not ready on, which if we bleed at 3 o'clock, that's I'm talking, so it's probably going to happen. But thank you guys for watching yesterday. Thank you for joining me today. And again, as Jay said, tomorrow on Monday, we've got D3, and then Talk Wrestling goes back to normal.
Yeah, whatever normal is for you, because you're going to have post WrestleMania Fallout and the Raw After Mania preview. So your channel probably won't go back to normal until the following week's Raw.
The one
Talk Wrestling.
If you call it a good thing, the one good part about Raw After Mania this year is there is no Raw After Mania in the truest sense. No crowd, none of that, usual shit. Which again, I'm disappointed in it happening, but as somebody that's covering it, thank you God. But tomorrow, like I said, people tend to kind of dismiss D3. And I think it's a shame. And I was among them for the longest time. I really was. But
Same.
I really like D3. And you guys will hear more about it tomorrow right here. Same time slot. Same Jeff stuttering over words. Time for Jeff to take a break. But yeah, please come back tomorrow and watch this. Watch yesterday's show on demand if you haven't seen it yet. Check us out here on the Constantine Studios channel each and every day. JJ's got a month of trilogy. I mean, like we were in Back to the Future. He did the Ninja Turtles. God love that. John Wick, which are intense as hell. These 3 movies, and it just keeps getting better, guys. Love it.
After the Ducks trilogy wraps up, we'll be jumping into the Expendables. 3 movies with virtually every single action star of the 80s and 90s that you can imagine. Just layered there throughout that trilogy. So you're definitely going to want to be here for that one when we get there.
Definitely. For
the West Coast Professor, Jeff Meacham, thank you very much once again, my Bash brother, for joining me. I am the Renegade, JJ Williams. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.